All right, it is a Wednesday, and that means it's the War Room. Last War Room of the year. Oh. It's been an incredible year of the War Room.
Yeah.
One of the hottest segments, and I don't say this lightly.
No, you don't.
It's one of the hottest segments in radio across the country, and we're happy to deliver it to you every Wednesday. All right. So we've got... I'm measuring it.
We know these things, Gayle.
Is that a black job to measure this?
All right, so that's Gayle Bass.
Wow.
Film, TV, and radio. Hi, Gayle.
Hello. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We've got Chris Merrill here.
Merrill Christmas.
Merrill Christmas.
From the Chris and Joe Show. Thanks for joining us on the War Room. We've got Luis Acosta, who is here, partner with Oracle Strategies. Luis, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us in the War Room.
First time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'll be gentle.
I don't think Gayle is... you better watch what you guys
reminder,
say.
Luis, this is not an interview. This is a conversation and a discussion amongst everybody in the room, okay?
So we've got a lot of issues we want to discuss. Why don't we start with mass deportations? I think if people are looking towards the next Trump administration, this is the hot button issue. People want to know what it looks like. People want to know how you're going to do it. People want to know, where's the line? How far are you going to go? And Luis, why don't we start with you? Because you're an interesting guy. You are a DACA recipient. You came to the United States, what was it, 93?
93.
And you were 2 years old.
2 years old.
Okay, so you have some protections, which is terrific. How are you feeling as you wait for the next Trump administration? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Is there any fear?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I will say that, for the last, since 2012, I have not had any fear, and I've been able to live my life just as any other American has been able to live their life. Have the ability to work because I have a Social Security number. I most recently was able to leave the country because I was able to qualify for what's called advanced parole and actually go back to Mexico for business, and then came back into the country legally.
A little funny they call it parole.
It's a little funny.
Okay.
It's a one entry ability, and if you miss your date, you're stuck. But
wow.
Now I live with a lot of fear because I know that during Trump's last administration, he tried going after DACA recipients. He's definitely stopped DAPA, the deferred action for our parents. It stopped that through the courts. And so my worry is that he's going to try to rearm up his legal team and make sure that they put with his stacked Supreme Court now, put an end to DACA once and for all.
You don't think you're leaving the country. You don't think he's forcing you out of the country. See, I think he's going to, again, do I know? Yeah. Of course not. I think he's going to leave you alone. I think he's going to leave the DACA recipients alone. I think he's going to go after the criminals first. And that's going to take a long time. That may take him 4 years.
But we do that now.
Yeah, Obama did it. I mean, he was very good at deporting the bad guys.
Criminals that are in this country illegally.
Mm-hmm.
That's not there is no political party or politician that's in favor of keeping criminal illegal aliens in the country.
So we have zero.
Regardless of party, presidents since Obama have been doing that, and before.
Right. So we have zero criminals to go after.
No, we got plenty to go
That's
after.
what he's going to do. He's going to go after the criminals.
Yes, but are we talking about a deportation of everybody who is here illegally, like 14 million? Those where the only crime they had was basically coming across the border, which I believe is a federal misdemeanor. And are you going to deport 13 million people? That would crush our economy.
Chris, how's this going to work out?
So I'm really curious about how it is that we've got criminals roaming the streets that as soon as we say we're going to deport the criminals, suddenly we're going to catch the criminals. So is that an admission that we're not doing a very good job of enforcing the laws that are out there right now? Because if we're going to go after the criminals first, well, are we not going after, to Bruce's point, are we not going after criminals already?
Well, I would point out that there are citizen criminals that are out there also. You know what I'm saying? The idea that all criminals are caught quickly and brought to justice is not necessarily true.
Could it be that Biden let so many people in over 4 years, we don't know who they are? We don't know if they've got a record from their country of origin. We just don't know anything really about them, and they've been here for could be a year, 4 years, could be 2 years.
This is when we can spread blame around to every political party because number one, when Trump was in before, they had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. This wasn't fixed. Before that, it wasn't fixed.
Right.
After that, it wasn't fixed. Nobody has fixed it.
Yeah, Obama had the same thing. He had the House, the Senate,
nobody fixed it.
Yeah, nobody wants to fix it.
Which is why I think a lot of this rhetoric is completely overblown. In the same way that we're going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. Where is it? Right. And so we're going to deport all
14 million people.
We're going to get rid of it. Right. No, you're not. No. And as one of you mentioned, he tried it in the past and it didn't work. What makes you think all of a sudden things are going to work this time around? And it's because we're going to go after the criminals. Okay. Are we not enforcing the laws where we catch criminals right now? So who's the easiest target? The easiest target is someone like Luis, who's registered, who says, "Look, I'm here. I've got a social security card. I'm a productive member of society." And you go, "Yeah, but we know where you live.
We know where. Yeah, we got your address.
That's right."
By the way, when you take a look at the numbers, the most aliens, and this is coming from Department of Homeland Security, the most we have ever removed, deported, ever in a calendar year was 2013, and the number was 432,000 people.
400,000 people.
That was the most that is the most we have ever deported in 1 year in the history of the United States.
And that earned Obama the nickname Deporter in Chief at the time. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I'm just saying, the idea that you're going to deport 1 million people? How? Yeah. Where?
Let alone 14.
And think about what that will mean for local small businesses. You're talking about you're going to lose customers, people who are landlords who have apartments. They're going to lose all that rent, Airbnbs, all that stuff. All of that trickles down. It gets affected.
Just because it looks tough, though, I do want to say that does not mean that the Trump administration is going to shy away from it. So one of the things that I know that we're very worried about, or I shouldn't even say worried, but we've been looking at here in the state of Arizona and across the country, is the fact that there have been internal conversations about mobilizing or setting up the infrastructure to get those people out. So whether that's through the establishment of new prisons, revamping of prison systems or detention centers, or
we've heard about the detention centers possibly in Texas that they want to set up. But again, everything's kind of a guessing game. It's like, well, I heard he wants to do this, or he said he wants to do this. Is he really going to go through with this? I hear that there's land, Texas. They want to build some of these detention centers. If they were to do that, then I guess that's how you would go about. Well, I'm looking at the number that Bruce said, 400,000 people. That's one way to do it, because
the way our system is built,
just deport somebody and kick them out.
There's a legal process you have to go through to deport people.
Right.
And our system, the way it works, the maximum number we've ever done is just over 400,000.
So we got Gayle Bass inside the war room. We've got Chris Merrill. We've got Luis Acosta, who's joining us, partner with Oracle Strategies, a DACA recipient. So Luis, let's go here. When the election was over and you found out that Donald Trump was the winner, like we all did your anxiety level go up? And if so, how much?
Oh, level 10. Level 10, because while I might have some sort of protection, my parents do not.
Okay.
Right? And my parents, they pay taxes. They have an ITIN number. They might not have a social security number, but they have an ITIN number to do their taxes. And so they work construction, they clean houses, and they pay taxes just like a lot of other parents in the West Valley do. And so the second that Trump was reelected and that, Project 2025 came to the head, it was definitely a situation where the anxiety increased to level 10.
What happens if he follows through with this plan? What happens to you? What happens to your parents? What would you see happening if that were to take place?
Absolutely. So, well, to Gayle's point, right? It's the people that want to do it the right way that are here and unfortunately are in this limbo that have come forward, like me or like my parents, who want to do it the right way. The federal government and, for lack of a better term, or just to include them, the state government has all of our information. And so they're going to be going after the people that have decided to come forward to do it the right way.
Low-hanging fruit.
The low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So you think that he's going to go after you?
I think that there's a huge possibility.
What happens if your parents, if it is your parents, because they're not here legally and have no protections?
They don't even have the DACA protection.
Where did they go? What do they do?
Well, at that point, if they're detained, then I'm assuming they would go to a detention center for a month or two before they are shipped out back to Mexico. And then that's kind of it.
And you would stay here and they would be there.
Well, right now, right now, unless I decided to leave the country and go back to Mexico.
It's scary.
And do we? And here's the thing: do we want to lose these DACA students and
recipients?
I want to say citizens because
some serve in the military.
Some of them.
We've had DACA recipients in the military.
When I don't have any memory before I was 2.
Yeah.
So my citizenship has always been I'm an American because I remember things when I was 5. So I feel like you feel like an American, don't you?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, because you
went to school in Iowa.
Because I feel like, okay, geez, you're corn-fed.
Wow. I was going to say,
corn-fed.
you're more than American if you're from Iowa.
Yeah.
That's like
it's
1.5 times American.
These are people. These are people that we have worked with. These are people that I have prayed with and fellowshipped with. These are people. My former roommate, who's DACA. She used to help feed the homeless downtown. Her church came to feed the homeless in Phoenix, even though they could have gone and done this in Mexico. So for me, I feel like something has to be done because these people are contributing to society. There's a movie made about DACA students at was it Cesar? I forgot what high school where they won a big science competition.
Yeah.
Do we want them to leave? No, we need them to beat China.
I think the majority of Americans, and we've seen the polls, want DACA recipients here. And then after that, it's strange. It's different tiers of
but the numbers I saw, about
situations
60% of Republicans want them to focus on people who have committed crimes in this country, not people who are just living their lives.
Right. All right. We're inside the war room. Bruce, what do we got coming up next?
Are the majority of Americans okay with the murder of the UnitedHealthcare CEO? We're going to talk to our panel on how politics plays into this. It's coming up next. We're outspoken inside the war room on KTAR. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today. Also, a quick shout out to Maryvale, all the Maryvalians.
Mary Villains.
Maryvillans. Oh, that's solid.
Fighting
No.
words.
I grew up in a ville, so I was able to
Maryvillans.
do that. Yeah.
Okay, solid. We're inside the war room, joined today by our esteemed guest. That is Chris Merrill. I'm assuming the Chris part of the Chris and Joe show on KTAR that comes on just before us. Also, star of film, TV, and radio. That is Gayle Bass. And first time in the war room. How's it going so far, by the way? You think okay?
I'm getting the hang of it.
You're getting the hang of it. All right. Luis Acosta. He is a partner with Oracle Strategies and a DACA recipient. All right, Gaydos. Boy, for the last week or so, the headlines have been dominated by the murder of the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. A murder that has divided people's sympathies. Is that a nice way to put it? And maybe have exposed some of not only the political differences, but kind of a class warfare that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the poll that came out yesterday, 41% of people aged 18 to 29 believe that the murder was okay. It was acceptable. I haven't talked to anybody that have said that to me yet. And maybe, people aren't willing to tell the truth. But I talked to people who are 18 and 20 and, 25, 28. I haven't heard a single person say that it was okay.
So they're out there, though, apparently.
Are they out there? Do you guys really think that they're out there?
No.
You don't, Chris?
No.
So what's the deal with this poll?
I think it's people who are responding to polls and they want to relay their frustration with the healthcare system. And I'll go so far as to say that this is an example of an evolving American caste system. So we don't have lords and ladies here, but we have CEOs, we have board members, we have billionaires, right? We have the wealthy elite who are in a different class, the upper class in the United States versus
that
the
has
middle
a seat
class
at the table.
That owns the table,
Yeah,
right? And the middle class doesn't have it. The lower
right.
class doesn't have it. So we have got our upper. I'm going to say we've got an elite an upper, a middle, and a lower class, which is the American caste system. And I think this is when you survey people who are in that middle and lower class, they're frustrated with the people who own the table and are calling the shots there. So I think when you take a survey and say, is it acceptable? I don't think they actually believe murder is acceptable, which plays into, let me just dominate this segment.
You are.
Which plays into something else. And you guys recognize this. Gayle, you will too. And Luis, it's some of the conversations about DACA. People now, he's DACA, boom, he's this, right? And so it isn't a person any longer. The head of the CEO of UnitedHealthcare is not Brian Thompson. He's an evil person on top of the healthcare system.
He represents a bigger entity.
And you guys in media know this too. You guys have dealt with horrible people that have said horrible things about you and your family that they would never say to another person because you're not real, because you are simply an entity that is on their speakers in the car. You're not a real person. And so there is a disconnect between the reality of the human being and the caricature that they see in their mind's eye.
Well, what I think is interesting is that I had a personal story about UnitedHealthcare. I had to change my healthcare company because I'm doing Obamacare. I have to pay for my own. But my insurance companies were saying, my medical offices were saying, we do not take UnitedHealthcare anymore. They're just not paying. They had issues with UnitedHealthcare. So when I first heard about...
Doctors did.
Yeah, doctors did. And when I first heard about the CEO, I thought, was that the UnitedHealthcare? And it was, and I was not surprised, but I was still shocked. I'm not surprised in this country where we have so much gun violence. It's going to happen. And like you were talking about earlier, there's no way that we're gonna that horse is already out of the barn. Yeah. But is it acceptable? No, it never is. No. But people are so upset because they have family members that have been victims of a for-profit medical system where they didn't get the test that they needed, they didn't get the surgery that they needed, that's what's motivating people to say he got what he had coming to him, even though he shouldn't have been killed like that.
All right. Coming up next, inside the war room, what is Joe Biden's legacy? He's got a couple more weeks as the president. What's the best thing that he did? What's the worst thing that he did? We're going to talk about it. Biden's legacy, the war room, next. That's right. Second half of the war room starts right now. Every Wednesday, we go inside the war room. It's Bruce and it's Gaydos, and joining us on the panel today is Luis Acosta. He is a DACA recipient and also a partner with the Oracle Strategies. We've got our buddy Chris Merrill, KTAR host, Chris and Joe show. And we've got Gayle Bass, film, TV, radio host. Okay.
I've written a few things for the paper, too.
I got that.
Author.
I got to write it in. Author. Oh, for crying out loud.
Her credits are getting longer and longer.
All right. So Joe Biden has a couple more weeks as the president of the United States. I think it's almost too much of a simplistic question. What will his legacy be? I think there are a lot of people out there who are angry with him that he allowed Donald Trump to come back in. He beat him, and then he allowed him back, and he gave him more popularity, more power, and it's Biden who didn't drop out of the race. What do you guys think Joe Biden's legacy is going to be? Let's start with you, Chris.
The thing that we're going to remember the most is that doddering debate. That's it.
Is that the legacy that we're going to remember?
I don't know if that's the legacy. Historians are not going to be writing about it. Historians will say he had a decline at the end of his presidency. They'll talk about the Infrastructure Act. They'll talk about the CHIPS Act. They'll talk about his handling of the pandemic, for better or for worse. But as far as those of us that were witnessing that contemporarily, right, we're going to remember, that was not a good look.
Possibly if there is a worse debate performance, I don't know if I've seen it.
That was it.
How's that?
Maybe we look and say that's the weakest a president has ever looked.
Yeah. I got a text message that plays along those lines. 620. Best thing Biden did was step away from running in the past election.
Too
when
late.
You talk about legacy.
He was too late.
Worst thing is he waited too long.
There you go. That's a good text. Luis, what do you think? When you look at Joe Biden, does part of you think, hey, you know what? I'm a DACA recipient, and now Donald Trump has come back in, and he's threatened to deport everybody. Are you angry with Joe Biden for not doing something?
Or doing more?
He held both chambers of Congress, and he did nothing. During his first term. I mean,
he had 2 years where it could have passed anything, right?
Yeah, it could have, but decided not to for one reason or another. So it's just one of those situations where there's a lot of, I think, to Chris's point, there's a lot of good stuff that he did as part of a coalition, but at the end of the day, he's just going to be remembered as the old guy who stumbled his way around and fell a couple times and then ended up pardoning his son.
Well,
Well,
good point.
Well, I think what Democrats say is that they do call him the most consequential president that we've had in some time, in that the things that he did well. Number one, our economy was in a free fall when he took over.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah.
COVID put us in a free fall.
We were in a free fall.
Well, we shut our economy down for COVID, right?
We had to. We were sick. 1 million Americans died.
I get it, but I think if we had to do it again, will we do it again? I don't think we'd do it again, but I get it. Again, no one knew what to do. I understand.
This was territory we hadn't seen before beyond, the big flu in the 1900s.
Right.
So what he did, though, was all that big blue wall area that went for Trump, all those jobs and everything, he made consequential decisions that made sure that those strong union jobs were still there. The CHIPS Act was monumental, especially here in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I think that people need to realize that he was the one who sent out stimulus checks, those stimulus checks that kept a lot of people going.
Oh, but it made the inflation crazy.
In fairness, both presidents sent out
both
stimulus
checks.
Yeah, they did.
But the problem was Biden should have stopped. I get that Trump did it, and maybe he shouldn't have done the last one, but Biden should never have done the first one. That's why we had the inflation problem. That is all on Joe Biden.
I think
it
was a combination of the two. Yeah.
I don't think it was a combination.
I'm going to go with what the head of the Fed says. He says inflation is not a government problem. It's a profit thing. It's like the companies have decided that they want to maximize their profits. That's not anything the government can do.
I think Joe Biden, one of the problems, we would talk about legacy, is I think some of the things, the good things he did, we mentioned like the CHIPS Act and infrastructure, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
That's not
sexy.
You don't see the results like
today.
Right now.
Yeah.
The semiconductor plants in North Phoenix,
TSMC,
that are going to possibly revolutionize the way chips are produced and how we get chips for everything we use, will not be realized for 10 or 15 years.
Right.
And at that time, no one's going to go back and go, well, thank goodness that Biden did that. We're long forgotten. It's stuff for the future you don't get credit for today.
Like, who talks about the supply chain anymore? This is critical because, the supply chain was a big issue during the pandemic. That's what everybody got aware of. Wait a minute, we get all this stuff from China and China can't send us this stuff? This is a problem. Why are we making everything in China? And it was like, okay, maybe we should make everything in China.
Can we talk about Biden's biggest challenge, though, during his administration, and that is stairs?
Yeah, it was.
I think that was the most terrifying thing he faced.
Oh, my gosh.
Gerald Ford had the same problem. Those of us
he wasn't nearly as old.
Those of
that's
us of a
his
certain
legacy.
age can remember.
Yeah, I keep going back to why did people vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump? And they wanted an adult. They wanted an adult in the room.
Yeah.
Also, they were voting against Trump.
I don't think we got the adult in the room. I think we got a man who quickly, was going downhill. And when that happens, the worst thing that you could do is deny it. And the worst thing that people around him could say is, he's fine. He's fine. There's no problem. He's super sharp. Boy, when I'm in a meeting with him, he's sharp. And it's the eye test. We all looked at it and said, unfortunately, our president really isn't there anymore. And they lied. And, we wanted an adult in the room that wasn't going to necessarily lie to us. And I don't think we ever got the adult in the room. And I think
What? So you're saying Trump isn't lying to us?
Well, he lies every day. But the reason that people voted for Joe Biden was, okay, let's get an adult who might be able to run the country and
we
might be
like the Obama years. So it might be an extension of that.
Right. Mm-hmm. But when his faculties were going, everybody covered it up. And people were ticked off about that. That's why one of the reasons he lost the election.
Here's the question I want to know is, when should he have gotten out?
Yeah.
When should it have been the time?
Midterms.
Well, I think one of the
midterms?
problems you run into, though, is the power of the presidency. It's his choice whether to leave, barring the 25th Amendment, which no Democrat was going to do, because that would have ruined their chances of ever running for anything as a Democrat again.
And then
you go after the president.
How'd that work out? They handed the election to Donald Trump.
They don't care about that. They care about their future down the road.
Right.
No, they're like, well, don't worry, it'll come back around.
And they'll forget the fact that they were that the Democrats were lying.
But they'll never forget Liz Cheney in the Republican Party as an example.
That's right.
You can't do that. Hey, we've got a quick check of the headlines. The war room continues, and coming up next, drone hysteria.
Oh,
Is it an illustration of why people don't trust government? We'll talk about it next inside the War Room on KTAR. And we're joined by some amazing guests today. Luis Acosta, partner with Oracle Strategies. Chris Merrill, one half of the Chris and Joe Show. And film, TV, radio, and author Gayle Bass.
goodness gracious.
Model.
With us, the model. Yes,
That's a joke.
hand model as well.
Well, I was confused with the model wearing my Indian motorcycles jacket. When I was at the CES convention, somebody said, "Is Indian here?" And I said, "No, I actually ride." And the poor guy.
Take it. All right. So, the thing that's been in the news this week has been the drones. And to be clear, Gaydos and I couldn't be farther apart on how we feel about the drones over New Jersey. Now, possibly it's because Gaydos was raised in the mean streets of New Jersey.
I don't think so.
Now, you don't think that's why?
No, I think we're in some serious danger.
No. Yeah. You do.
I don't know I don't know what they're looking for, but it's just not a.
It's they. Who's they?
I think it's the federal government.
The government's looking for something.
I don't know what they're
Our
looking
government?
for. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's Iranian drones
Okay.
or anything like that.
Oh, you're a step ahead of
Not China.
I don't think it's
It's not
China.
the evolution of the weather balloon.
I don't. I do think that it is odd how many drones are in the air and have been spotted over the last month, and nobody is telling us what it is. What do you guys think it is? Are you with Bruce? Bruce thinks it's a joke.
So
I think it's a complete joke.
Yeah. So I have been listening
call
to you
it
guys.
Y2K.
As I mentioned before, I do listen to your program every day on the way
Appreciate
home.
it, Christopher.
And not only that, but I'm expecting a Christmas card. Bruce made the best point of all, and that is that how many spies are abiding by the FAA's lighting laws?
Yes, to make sure they have a red and green light on them.
Blinky lights and
they
things
are
like that.
FAA approved
Yeah.
secret drones.
So I think we've got a combination of a few things here.
Yeah.
If what I would love for this to be, because I called it last week, is that it's a stunt by casino.com or something. I would love it to be that.
They're all going to come together and spell out a logo in the sky over New Jersey.
I would love that. It's just a big stunt. But I think it's probably a little bit of like the hysteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of
it feeds upon itself.
It does, right? People want to fit in. They want to, oh, I saw one too, right? Some of it is, I saw blinking lights in the sky. There have been a lot of drones. And so maybe I saw a drone. I'll talk about that. But I'm not thinking it's the federal government. If the federal government wants to spy on us, I don't think they have to do it at night with drones.
What if they're looking at something? What if they're looking for something? I don't know what it is.
Looking for something.
But they're looking for
They
something.
could use your laptop. They could use your Wi-Fi.
It's
They don't need to
beautifully
do that.
vague and allows us to use our imaginations. They're looking for something.
Well, maybe they should just tell us
something-
what it is.
What are they
Come
looking
on,
for?
you
Or
know
maybe
what
they
it is.
don't know what it
First
is.
of all,
It
it's the
could be.
holiday season.
Uh-huh.
It looks like that Simon game, and now Simon is now an AI drone.
Okay.
So
Not
you
what
can
it
play
is.
it up in the air with your little game controller.
Hold on. Luis, doesn't this say something, though, about a distrust of government? I mean, the government has come out and said, every department of government, this is nothing. We've looked into it. It's commercial. It's airplanes. In some cases, it's constellations you're
I've heard
mistaking
we
for
don't
drones.
know what it is.
And then people go, well, you can't trust the government.
The Orion Belt has
Yeah.
been confused with a drone.
It's just one time.
I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Good
by
for
any
you.
means, but
Uh-oh.
when I
There's
see
a
all
but. Wait.
I see all these videos on TikTok, and it's constant, and it's like, oh, there's a drone here. Now in South Phoenix, there was a drone the other night that approached another drone, and then the drone that approached it fell out of the sky. And so it's just like all
Killer
these
drones?
questions
I
that
gotta
are
get me one of those.
floating around my mind. I don't know what it is, but again, back to my point. What if they are looking for something? What could they be looking for in New Jersey?
Oh, there
Absolutely.
you go. That's solid.
No, and I've said that. If, people are like, they're UFOs. No, they're not going to fly billions of light years to go to Jersey. I got out of Jersey for a reason.
And know the FAA rules too on lighting, right?
And again, the aliens would be like, make sure you get the red on this side and the green on this side.
We figured out wormholes, but we better use the conventional technology of the day and use drones to come the rest of the way.
Hey, Trump said he wasn't going to his golf course because of these drones. He doesn't know what they are. He's staying out.
But he's a conspiracy theorist.
I never thought I'd say this, but
Trump's
in his defense,
Gayle,
the man has been shot at a couple of times.
Right. I'd be a little gun shy, too.
If I was him, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute. You guys can't protect me, and now this?
We learned from Meghan McCain Monday the reason he eats McDonald's is because he's afraid of people poisoning his food.
I
heard Gaydos' take on that, and I'm kind of like, I'm with him. See, it's not the worst plan.
A bit of a conspiracy theorist.
Not the worst plan.
Thank you guys all so much for being a part of the last War Room of 2024. We will continue it in 2025, and I hope all of you will accept our invitation to come back at some point. All right?
Hey, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas,
guys.
And thanks again to Luis Acosta, Chris Merrill, and Gayle Bass for being a part of the War Room.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.